Welcome everyone to this presentation on learning a new language. My name is Tanner, and I understand that learning a language can be a big step. It can also be stressful too. But here's some secrets, some ways to make it more manageable. So to start off, there are a lot of ways you can learn a language. There are applications like Duolingo, there's Rosetta Stone, there are classes, and I recommend doing one of these things or using one of these things along with these 6 steps. So why am I teaching this? I really love languages and I want to share that passion with others. I was able to teach intro level Spanish at college for 1 semester, and that was really good to help people to learn and progress and to get desires to learn a language. So for me, I wasn't always good at languages. I took Spanish in junior high because I had to, and I didn't do very well. But eventually, over time, um, not really on purpose, but I had gradually used these steps. And looking back, I found that that they were really key into me, into progressing and getting better. I've been able to learn other languages as well while continuing with Spanish, um, and I've been to Guatemala just barely in January this year, 2017, and then I believe it's 2013. I was in Mexico. Neither were for extensive periods of time, but I was able to enjoy both of those. So why should you learn a language? You're able to understand people better, especially people of different cultures, different languages, when you learn this language, and you're able to understand that it's not easy for everyone to learn a language. So you're able to feel that compassion for those that are learning your language. You're able to build connections. Obviously, there's a travel aspect. It'll be easier knowing the language, and then you'll have a greater skill set, and it'll be fulfilling for you. So first of all, you want to have the desire to learn, but if you don't, this is a place for you because these steps will help you to get that desire to learn a new language. So here are the 6 steps on top of obviously desire. So I will go into more detail later, but these are just the 6 steps. So you want to get a foundation of the language, just some of the basics. That's the first step. Second, connect the language with your favorite hobbies and things you like to do. 3, adapt to the language. You want to be that language, that culture. Don't just study hard is the 4th step. You study smarter and more. 5th, be teachable, have an open mind. 6, discover your strengths and weaknesses and adjust accordingly. So, first of all, find a way just to learn some phrases, sentences, words, whatever, just so you're not completely lost. Have a friend teach you. Get a phone application like I mentioned. Duolingo, whatever it is, just so you know where you're going. Second, do the things you like to do and learn the language as well. Mix the two. It can be really helpful. There are tons of things you can do, such as listening to music and cooking something from that culture, the culture associated with that language. Find out what they're saying. There are tons of things you can do, whatever it is you like to do. There's playing games. You see the definition there given by elearningindustry.com that playing games can really help you to learn and to recall and to really get involved in learning the language. The 3rd step is adapting to the language, and this is a tough one, but it's also really important. You need to practice thinking in that language, and you might think, well, what, 5-10 words? That's okay. Just start off thinking, whenever you see something like a door, instead of thinking in your native language, think of it in the language that you're learning, and you'll start to apply it, and it'll start to become more useful and more natural. Uh, and then down here also, um, you have to adjust your kind of your feelings of the language. It is different. It is unnatural, really, to speak a different language or to read it or to listen to it. But instead of saying, "Oh, this is weird," you have to say, "Okay, this is different," but I'm going to adjust to it so it's normal. In Chinese they have tones, um, whether that be Mandarin or Cantonese, they have tones, and that's very different than English. Instead of saying, "Oh, that's weird. I don't like that," and just saying, it's different. Let's figure out how that works. Um, and then lastly, here, learning phonetics and phonology can also be helpful to adapting to the language. Fourth, don't just study hard, study smarter and more. Really, everybody has time. Just about everybody has time every day uh, to learn a language. Um, whether it's just listening to something while you're driving, listening to uh, content in the language you're trying to learn, or walking. My I have a brother that's really good at that, learning languages just while walking to work or whatever. There are flashcards. Instead of always getting an app, it's actually good to write them down, and also to maybe make more than one copy of these flashcards, and it'll help you to recall as you're actually writing it down. Fifth is to be teachable, have an open mind. Now, a lot of this is based on inductive reasoning. Now, there's inductive reasoning and deductive reasoning. Inductive reasoning is where you have to figure out why, basically. You have to notice what in a sentence or a word makes it the way it is. In deductive, you will actually, have a grammar rule that says, okay, this is this. In inductive, you're kind of trying to figure out what that grammar rule is. So, for example, in English, with inductive reasoning, you might see the words one dog in a sentence, and then the next sentence, two dogs. And you'll notice how after dog, it adds an S. You might think, oh, that's because it's plural, so you must add an S. And deductive would be like, hey, to make it plural, add an S. And then you see the sentence, three dogs, two dogs. And then you get it. Use both of those, really, but inductive is helpful because you're actually teaching yourself. And it becomes more ingrained into your brain when you're actually figuring it out and making those connections. Additionally, here is, there will be some stress with learning language. You can't get rid of all of it, but a lot of the stress can be helpful in getting you to learn. Six here is discover what your learning style is, and maybe you already know. Do you learn better through visual, or listening, or doing, hands-on, those types of things? What works best for you? And then you're going to adjust based on what is going to work for you. At the same time, you do want to diversify, and that's what's important here. Is using all your senses, is very helpful in the learning process to make something, really stick with you. So these are the steps, and now I really, don't like selling myself, but kind of have to. Who else is going to do it? So I'm offering tutoring, and it's a little bit different than the way most people do it. I'm going to have 2 sessions, each about 15 minutes long, and in the first one, I'm just going to get to know you, your learning style, what language it is you want to learn, and then in the following couple of days, I am actually going to also learn that language and figure out what works. Um, and in the second session, I'm going to share what I've learned, share some resources, and then we'll get to practice a little bit. And I'll get you going towards where you want to be, help you get a study plan moving forward. So it's $4.95 currently. That's subject to change. It's May 2017. So later down the road, that price will probably be different. And the language options, I at the bottom, I don't know all of those. So like I said, I'm going to be helping you. By learning it myself, I found a lot of times to have an expert teach you isn't the best thing, because they get ahead of themselves and they don't quite explain things clearly. And so that's my idea here is, if it comes to Italian, which I don't know like any of that, me being able to learn with you and going kind of at the same pace, and having the same being in the same situation, I think would be very, very beneficial to the learner. So if you're interested, you can email me at tanner.s@_deportes.com or tanner.sperry@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.